1944 gives way to 1945. In Belgium, Allied fighting men struggle on. On the Atlantic, merchant mariners are busy. A Marine somewhere in the Pacific is very tired. A Navy gunner wounded in action, and overseas many of his brothers in arms will never see the new year. 1944 was a costly year. Its casualties have paid for great victories, victories that have blazed in the headlines. Rome falls. Allies land in Normandy. Guam retaken. Paris liberated. The Philippines. Tokyo bombed. These have been good headlines, good news. In the munitions plants and armament factories, millions have labored to supply the raw materials of this much success. Vast industrial resources have been wholly devoted to war. A national election, Governor Dewey running against President Roosevelt, did not interrupt that effort. But in the deaths of Alfred E. Smith and Wendell Willkie, the United States lost two great citizens. Roosevelt was reelected. Troops fought ashore at Kwajalein, Palau, won the Marianas, and finally reached the Philippines. Japan was still far away. In Europe, Berlin was nearer. There was deadlock in Italy, but Russia was on the march. And in England, great Allied armies were grouped and trained. Allied planes roamed over Europe, delivering heavy blows at enemy targets. Then, D-Day, ticking seconds of 0 hour. Fire! Rocket barges, paratroopers, months of secret preparation put into explosive action. The assault on the Atlantic Wall, riding into the teeth of the Normandy coastal defenses, carrying the hopes of the whole free world. This was the enemy. So too were these, hundreds of thousands killed and captured. This was Normandy. Long weeks, then the breakthrough. Patriots rose. Suddenly, Paris. That August day, the war for a moment was kisses and cheers and parades, and glory for those who had never lost faith in France. That same day, only a few miles from Paris, one young soldier knew mud, one knew blood, one knew sudden death. Then September, Brussels liberated, the first sight of the Siegfried Line, a battle for German soil in which mighty new enemy blows and smash. And the Russians, striking into Poland and the Balkans, made 1944 a year of swift advances, unleashing violent power. The Axis satellites, Romania, Finland, and the rest, knocked out of the war. Some said Hitler was dead, in exile, insane. But the German enemy, with fierce new leaders like Himmler, had not cracked. Victory, the worldwide rebirth of liberty, was not yet won in Europe. In the Pacific, as 1944 drew to a close, American superfortresses began the systematic bombing of Japan. President Osmeña and General MacArthur returned to the Philippines. Newsreel and military cameramen moved in, as always, with the troops to bring home the pictured facts. The hell of jungle warfare, the dawn of landing day on some coral beach. This is the way it was in the island. China fought back against great Japanese drive. At sea, the Navy wrote history. A Navy of many fleets, many task forces, many heroes. Admiral Nimitz, using the 3rd Fleet of Halsey and the 7th Fleet of Kinkaid and others. In October, the greatest naval engagement ever, and the Japanese fleet routed. Quebec, international leaders strove to resolve the problems of the war and the peace. Dumbarton Oaks, with Edward Stettinius, new United States Secretary of State, America, China, Britain, and Russia meet in unity. Season by season, 1944 went surely on. A year of achievement, not yet a year of final success. The very last day of that year, the dawn of a new one. For some, it meant all night on the job, putting rivets in warplanes. For others, a day to dig one more foxhole. For someone else, it meant still trying to fix something broken 2 years ago in Tunisia. 1945. Before these guns are stilled against the Nazi, his furious counterattacks must be blasted. The German borders squeezed ever smaller. 1945. The full industrial might of hundreds of millions, the courage and skill and tireless effort of the Allied armies of liberation will be brought to bear against both Germany and Japan. This, for Allied fighting men, will be a new and shining year.
London is doomed, said Dr. Goebbels. And Adolf Hitler's intuitive propaganda experts claimed that in its first few days of attack last June, V1, the flying bomb, the robot bomb, the buzz bomb, had almost entirely removed the city of London from the war-scarred face of the earth. Yes, once again, the great, patient, enduring city of London was suffering. Find yourself as V1 might have found you, coming at you from dawn to dusk, dusk to dawn. You're a passenger on a crosstown bus. This is the end of your last ride. You're a kid in school. This is your lesson for today. You're an airman on leave, and this is your welcome mat. You're a diner in a restaurant. This is where you have your last bite. You're a patient in a hospital. This is your final treatment. You're a worshiper in church. This is where you kneeled and never got up again. Yes, London was suffering under V1. Suffering, but alive. 23,000 buildings utterly destroyed. 1 million damaged. Over 5,000 lives lost. Over 16,000 broken. But London worked. You're a member of a heavy rescue squad and you dig with your hands to save a life. You're an attendant in a first aid station and you haven't slept in 3 days. You're a GI MP and you break patrol to help the London Bobby. You're the man on the street and you do what you can. London suffered, but London worked and London fought. You're part of the Grove and Ack battery on the south coast, and you can't close your eyes. The V1, you bring down countless bombs with Ack. You work hard down on the south coast in the white sun and gray mist, and in the nervous night. You're a member of a barrage balloon unit. In the 80 days, you bring down nearly 300 with only steel cables stretched in the sky. You're a pilot of a Tempest or Mustang or new type Spitfire sweeping through space. And you bring down nearly 2,000 pilotless bombs in the 80 days. And it isn't easy. Yes, you fight back and you bring them down in the thousands. But some get through to the villages and towns of England, and some get through to London. Their numbers are also in the thousands. They come groaning and spitting and roaring, and you don't know when they'll suddenly stop and drop on you. You're a farm laborer. It's like sitting in a dentist's chair when they come over. Only worse. You're a hairdresser in for a swim on Sunday afternoon. It's like seeing snakes. You don't like snakes. Only worse. You're a citizen of southern England, and it's a matter of life and death. Your life, your death. You're a roof spotter, or any kind of spotter. All you can do is watch out for them and pray. The Germans had hoped to win a compromise peace out of the bombardment of London. They had hoped that the new trial of the battered capital would finally break the will of the English people. They broke British homes, churches, schools, bodies. But the will to fight grew stronger than ever. On a bright Sunday morning in June, a buzz bomb hit the chapel near the London barracks of a famous regiment of the British Army. In that chapel were wives and children of the men who were fighting that morning outside Caen. After that, those men fought with merciless ferocity. The Germans in Normandy paid for the blind savagery of their masters. The British have not been the only ones to suffer under the new weapons in the Nazi arsenal. Americans were killed by the side of their allies. American WACs, serving in London, died on this new random battlefield. And later on the continent, the Germans gave us a preview of the wars of the future by assailing us in Luxembourg and Belgium with the sputtering robot bomb. Imagine the wars of the future. Look at this wreckage and see New York in the next war. Washington, San Francisco, Milwaukee, Dallas. Imagine the far-reaching weapons of 1960, 1970. Continents would war against continents across great oceans. Buttons would be pressed, cities would crumble half a world away. It would be a war of wizards. No one anywhere would be out of the front lines. Your children would live on the edge of a perpetual Senlo, a constant Tarawa. That is, if you don't stop it. You have bled for the people of London, and they have bled for you. That goes for the people of Stalingrad, the people of Manila, the people of Athens, Paris, and Chongqing. If you remember that, if you remember that you don't want that bleeding for yourselves and for them to continue forever, if you remember that you want a peace that no monstrous inventions, no violent men can ever destroy, if you remember all that and devote yourself to it as you're devoting yourself to winning this war, your children and your children's children will never stand like this on American soil, looking up at the rubble of their homes.